Anthropomorphic dynamics. Madripoor's villainous vanguard high atop the shimmering skyline of Madripoor's hightown stood Anthropomorphic Dynamics, the leading player in humanoid robotics. Their towering headquarters at 3151 Anthropomorphic Road was a state-of-the-art fortress spanning 201,500 square feet. On the surface, the company was the epitome of corporate success, cutting-edge technology, impeccable financials, and a flawless reputation. Beneath the polished Section 8, however, lay a darker truth, a relentless ambition that knew no bounds. The dark layers of Anthropomorphic Dynamics. Dr. Victor Astronov, CEO, the enigmatic and calculating leader. A former prodigy turned ruthless industrialist, Victor had a singular vision, to dominate Madripoor by integrating humanoid robotics into every facet of life by any means necessary. Evelyn Kane, CFO, a financial servant with a heart as cold as her spreadsheets. Evelyn saw the world in numbers and the metrics, viewing people as little more than assets or liabilities. Her strict focus on KPIs made Anthropomorphic Dynamics financially invincible. Lucius Lynx Vardane, head of security, a former Lowtown enforcer, Lynx brought a dangerous edge to Anthropomorphic Dynamics. His expertise in both technology and intimidation ensured that no one crossed the company without paying a price. Dr. Celine Arcadia, chief engineer, a brilliant yet morally ambiguous scientist who developed the company's humanoid AI. Her creations were works of art and weapons of control. Celine's loyalty to Victor stemmed from a shared desire for power and recognition. The metrics of domination, KPIs that mattered: net operating income, NOI, what it is. NOI measures the profitability of a property by subtracting operating expenses from total revenue. Anthropomorphic Dynamics' NOI of $20,150,000 was staggering, reflecting their mastery of efficiency and revenue generation. Why it matters: a high NOI ensured the company had ample funds for research, security, and their underhanded operations in Lowtown. Evelyn's perspective: our NOI isn't just a number. It's leverage. Every dollar funds innovation or eradicates competition. Victor's take: it's not enough to dominate Hightown. A robust NOI is the engine of conquest. Debt Service Coverage Ratio, DSCR, what it is. DSCR evaluates a company's ability to cover its debt obligations with operating income. At 3.11, Anthropomorphic Dynamics had unparalleled financial strength. Why it matters: a high DSCR shielded them from financial vulnerability, allowing them to aggressively pursue acquisitions and expand their influence. Evelyn's perspective: with a DSCR like ours, the banks practically beg us to borrow. Power is cheap when you know how to wield it. Lucius's input: a strong DSCR funds the kind of protection money Lowtown respects. It ensures loyalty by choice or fear. Internal rate of return, IRR, what it is. IRR measures the profitability of investments by calculating the expected annual growth rate. Their 12% IRR showcased their efficiency and capital allocation. Why it matters: it made Anthropomorphic Dynamics an attractive partner for investors, giving them access to nearly limitless funding. Celine's perspective: every project we greenlight exceeds expectations. Our IRR isn't just a metric, it's a promise to our investors. Net present value, NPV, what it is. NPV calculates the value of future cash flows relative to today's investment. With a staggering $7,500,000, Anthropomorphic Dynamics proved their projects added significant value. Why it matters: a positive NPV validated their aggressive strategies, enabling them to continue their march toward dominance. Victor's perspective: NPV isn't about numbers, it's about vision. We don't just predict the future, we define it. Cash on cash return, what it is. This metric evaluates the cash income earned relative to the initial cash investment. At 10%, the company maintained excellent liquidity while reinvesting heavily in R&D. Why it matters: cash flow was king in Madripoor, allowing them to seize opportunities and neutralize threats. Evelyn's perspective: cash on cash return is our safety net. In a place like Madripoor, liquidity isn't optional, it's survival. The villainy unfolds Lowtown operations. While Hightown marveled at Anthropomorphic Dynamics' technological marvels, Lowtown whispered rumors of humanoid enforcers programmed for suppression. These robots patrolled the streets, collecting protection fees for Victor under the guise of keeping the peace. Lucius coordinated these operations, using data from Celine's AI to target dissidents. The humanoids were flawless in execution, cold, efficient, and merciless. A clash with Wolverine in a smoky corner of the Princess Bar, Logan learned of the humanoid enforcers terrorizing Lowtown. With a gruff determination, he decided to confront Victor. Breaking into Anthropomorphic Dynamics headquarters, Logan faced off against Lynx and an army of humanoids. The battle was brutal, with Lynx using cybernetic enhancements to match Logan's ferocity. Meanwhile, Celine and Victor watched from a secure control room. Celine: he's tearing through our units. Should I deploy the new prototypes? Victor: number Let him come. The world needs to see what happens when they defy us. Turning point, the numbers don't lie. As Logan fought his way closer to Victor, Evelyn ran the numbers. Evelyn, this is bad. If we lose even 10% of our humanoid units, our NOI and DSCR take a hit. Investors will notice. Victor, then make them see opportunity. Announce an upgraded security model to replace the damaged units. Raise the price. The legacy of anthropomorphic dynamics. Logan ultimately exposed anthropomorphic dynamics' darker dealings to the world, forcing Hightown's elite to re-evaluate their support. But Victor and his team were undeterred. Victor, adversity breeds innovation. Madripoor isn't ready to let go of us. After all, who else can protect them? Despite the setback, anthropomorphic dynamics doubled down on their operations, proving that in Madripoor, villains often had the last laugh. Reflection on KPIs. The story of anthropomorphic dynamics highlights how metrics like NOI, DSCR, IRR, NPV, and cash-on-cash return can be both tools for growth and weapons of control. For better or worse, these KPIs shape their legacy in Madripoor's dangerous landscape. Page 1. The KPI Chronicles, decoding the success of anthropomorphic dynamics in the bustling streets of Madripoor. Anthropomorphic dynamics continued to dominate the humanoid robotics industry. Beyond their impressive AI and state-of-the-art headquarters at 3151 Anthropomorphic Road, their success was driven by an iron grip on key performance indicators, KPIs. Understanding these metrics was essential to their reign and their survival in Madripoor's cutthroat corporate world. This story dives into each KPI, explained in relatable terms while showing why these numbers mattered so much to their villainous empire. 1. Net operating income, NOI. What it is, NOI is the profit a property makes after subtracting all the expenses it takes to run it, like maintenance, taxes, and utilities, from the money it earns, rent and other income. For anthropomorphic dynamics, their NOI was $20,150,000 for their massive 201,500 square feet headquarters. Why it matters, NOI is like a report card for how well a building is earning money. For Victor Astronov, the CEO, this meant the building was highly profitable and could fund new projects like upgraded humanoid enforcers. 2. Capitalization rate, cap rate. What it is, cap rate is a percentage that shows how much income, NOI, a property makes compared to its price. Think of it like a bang for your buck for investors. For anthropomorphic dynamics, their cap rate was 10%, meaning they were earning 10% of the property's value in profit every year. Why it matters, a higher cap rate means better returns for investors. Evelyn Kane, the CFO, used this to pitch anthropomorphic dynamics as a solid investment for backers. 3. Debt service coverage ratio, DSCR. What it is, DSCR measures how easily a business can pay back its loans. It's calculated by dividing NOI by the total loan payments. For anthropomorphic dynamics, their DSCR of 3.11 meant they earned 3 times what they needed to cover their debt payments. Why it matters, this showed banks and investors that anthropomorphic dynamics was financially stable. Evelyn liked to say, with a DSCR like ours, we're untouchable. 4. Occupancy rate. What it is, the percentage of a property that's being used or rented out. For anthropomorphic dynamics, their 100% occupancy rate meant every square foot of their building was actively in use. Why it matters, a fully occupied building is a sign of efficiency. Victor took pride in knowing that his headquarters were packed with employees, labs, and humanoid development facilities. 5. Tenant credit quality. What it is, this measures how trustworthy and reliable tenants are in paying rent. For anthropomorphic dynamics, their tenant credit quality rating of A showed they had high-quality tenants, mainly themselves and their subsidiaries. Why it matters, good credit quality means fewer risks. Evelyn loved to flaunt their A-grade score during investor meetings, proving the stability of their operations. 6. Market rent versus in-place rent. What it is, market rent is how much similar properties charge per square foot, while in-place rent is what tenants currently pay. For anthropomorphic dynamics, market rent was $38 per square feet, but they paid themselves $34.27 per square feet, a strategic underpayment. Why it matters, by paying less than market rate, they saved money to reinvest in technology. Victor called this smart economics. 7. Effective gross income, IG. What it is, IG is the total income a property can make, including rent and other revenue, minus vacancy losses. For anthropomorphic dynamics, their $25 million IG showed just how much revenue the building was generating. Why it matters, a high IG is crucial for funding future expansions. Evelyn's spreadsheets proved that this number was a key driver of their success. 8. Operating expense ratio, OR. What it is, OR measures how much of the income is spent on running the property. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, their 35% OR meant they spent about a third of their income on expenses. Why it matters: a low OR means more profit. Evelyn proudly pointed out that their efficient management kept this ratio in check. 9. Market vacancy rate. What it is: the percentage of properties in the area that are empty or unused. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, Madripoor's 5% vacancy rate was favorable, ensuring demand remained strong. Why it matters: a low vacancy rate showed that their location in Hightown was prime real estate. 10. Loan-to-value ratio, LTV. What it is: LTV compares the size of a loan to the value of the property. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, their 60% LTV meant their loan was relatively small compared to their building's worth. Why it matters: a lower LTV reduces risk for lenders, making it easier to secure loans. Evelyn used this as a bargaining chip during negotiations. 11. Internal rate of return, IRR. What it is: IRR measures how profitable an investment is over time. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, their 12% IRR meant their projects were growing steadily in value. Why it matters: a high IRR attracted investors who wanted long-term gains. Victor described it as proof of our unstoppable momentum. 12. Net present value, NPV. What it is: NPV calculates how much future cash flows are worth in today's dollars. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, their $7,500,000 NPV showed their investments were highly valuable. Why it matters: NPV gave them confidence to keep pushing for more ambitious projects. 13. Cash on cash return. What it is: cash on cash return looks at how much actual cash is earned compared to the initial cash investment. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, their 10% return meant they were earning solid profits on their cash investments. Why it matters: this metric helped them keep liquidity for critical projects and operations. 14. Power Broker Score. What it is: a subjective score, 1 to 5 stars, representing a property's market influence. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, their 4-star rating cemented their position as a powerhouse. Why it matters: it boosted their reputation, ensuring they stayed ahead of competitors in Madripoor's volatile market. Conclusion: KPIs as tools of power. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, KPIs weren't just numbers on a page, they were weapons of dominance. Each metric told a story of efficiency, profitability, and control, reinforcing their position as the shadowy overlords of Madripoor. Whether used to crush competition or secure resources, their mastery of these indicators was what kept their empire thriving in the world's most ruthless city. Page 2. The KPI Chronicles, Net Operating Income, NOI, at the heartbeat of profits. As Anthropomorphic Dynamics tightened its grip on Madripoor's humanoid robotics industry, one KPI stood out as the backbone of their empire: Net Operating Income, NOI. At $20,150,000 for their cutting-edge, 201,500 square foot headquarters, the NOI was more than just a number, it was a testament to their dominance. But what is NOI? Why is it crucial to their reign? And how do they wield it as a tool of power? Let's dive in. What is Net Operating Income, NOI? NOI is a financial metric used in real estate and business to measure the profitability of a property. It shows how much money a property is making after covering all its operating expenses, but before considering debts like loans or mortgages. Here's how it's calculated: NOI equals total income from property minus operating expenses. Total income includes all the money the property earns, such as rent or other revenue like parking fees. Operating expenses covers costs like maintenance, repairs, utilities, property management, and taxes. Think of NOI as the property's bottom line for day-to-day operations, so it doesn't include debts or other financial obligations. Why does NOI matter? In a cutthroat place like Madripoor, NOI is more than a number, it's a survival tool. For Victor Astronov, the sinister CEO of Anthropomorphic Dynamics, NOI answered two critical questions: how profitable is the business? NOI reveals how efficiently a property is generating income. A high NOI means a building is making a lot of money, while a low NOI can indicate financial trouble. Can a business fund new projects? NOI helps decide whether there's enough left over profit to reinvest in growth, like Anthropomorphic Dynamics' development of next-gen humanoid enforcers. For Victor, the $20,150,000 NOI meant his headquarters wasn't just a building, it was a factory of profits, ready to fuel his ambitious plans for control over Madripoor. The anatomy of Anthropomorphic Dynamics NOI. Let's break it down. Total income, revenue from renting parts of their building to other tech companies, $22 million per year. Extra income from charging premium lab space fees, $3 million per year. Total income, $25 million per year. Operating expenses, maintenance and repairs for their advanced robotics labs, $2,500,000 per year. Utilities like power and water for their energy-hungry humanoid production lines, $1,500,000 per year. Property taxes, $800,000 per year. Salaries for facility managers, $50,000 per year. Total operating expenses, $4,850,000 per year. NOI calculation, NOI equals 25 million minus 4,850,000 equals 20,150,000. NOI as a strategic weapon. Victor wasn't content with a strong NOI, he used it as a lever for power. Here's how: building investor confidence. High NOI made Anthropomorphic Dynamics look like a safe bet for investors. Evelyn Kane, the CFO, leveraged their $20,150,000 NOI in presentations, showing financiers that their headquarters was a cash cow. Funding expansion. With millions in profit, Victor funneled money into new projects like the Anthropomorphic Enforcer MK4, designed to keep order in Madripoor. Without strong NOI, these projects would have stalled. Securing loans and financing. Banks often assess NOI before granting loans. With $20 million in annual profit, Anthropomorphic Dynamics easily secured funding to build an experimental robotics wing. Why NOI matters in the bigger picture. Let's step back. Why does NOI matter, even outside the villainous world of Anthropomorphic Dynamics? Simplicity. NOI is a straightforward way to see if a property is making money. It cuts through complex financial jargon to focus on one clear question: is this property profitable? Universal metric. Whether you're running a skyscraper in Madripoor or a small rental property, NOI applies across the board. It's a universal metric for property performance. Foundation for other metrics. NOI feeds into other critical KPIs, like capitalization rate, cap rate, and debt service coverage ratio, DSCR. For example, Anthropomorphic Dynamics' cap rate of 10% came directly from their NOI calculation. NOI in action, a villainous example. Imagine Victor wants to expand his humanoid enforcer production. He needs a loan of $30 million to build a new robotics factory. To secure loan, the bank asks, how much profit are you making right now? Can you prove that your property is stable and reliable? Victor points to the NOI. A consistent $20,150,000 profit assures the bank that his headquarters is a thriving, money-making asset. They approve the loan, knowing it's unlikely Victor will default. Conclusion: NOI as the pulse of power. Net operating income isn't just a financial metric, it's the heartbeat of any real estate empire. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, it was the foundation of their success, fueling their growth and solidifying their control over Madripoor. Victor Astranov knew that as long as his NOI stayed strong, nothing could stop him from dominating the city and the world beyond. The KPI Chronicles made one thing clear: in the battle for Madripoor, every number mattered, but NOI was king. Page 3. The KPI Chronicles, Capitalization Rate, cap rate, a measuring the bang for your buck. Deep in the heart of Madripoor, Anthropomorphic Dynamics wasn't just feared for its humanoid enforcers, it was admired, and envied, for its ruthless efficiency in real estate. A key to their dominance? Mastering the capitalization rate, cap rate. With a 10% cap rate on their headquarters at 3151 Anthropomorphic Road, they wielded this KPI like a scalpel, cutting through uncertainty to secure their empire's future. But what exactly is cap rate? Why is it a big deal for investors? And how did Anthropomorphic Dynamics leverage it to maintain control over the city's tech and real estate markets? Let's unravel their mystery. What is the capitalization rate, cap rate? Cap rate is a percentage that shows how much income, NOI, a property generates compared to its price or value. It's a simple way for investors to ask, am I getting a good deal? Here's the formula: cap rate equals net operating income, NOI, divide by property value times 100. Net operating income, NOI, the profit the property makes from its operations, after expenses. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, this was $20,150,000 per year. Property value, the total worth of the property, determined by the market or an appraisal. In this case, the headquarters was valued at $201,500,000. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, cap rate equals $20,150,000 divided by $201,500,000 times 100 equals 10%. Why does cap rate matter? Cap rate is like a crystal ball for investors. It tells them, how good is the investment? A higher cap rate means a property is earning more profit compared to its price, making it a potentially better deal. How risky is the investment? Lower cap rates are often seen in stable markets, lower risk, while higher cap rates may indicate more risk but also higher rewards. For Evelyn Kane, the cold and calculating CFO of Anthropomorphic Dynamics, their 10% cap rate was a sweet spot, high enough to promise solid returns, but not so high as to scream risky. The anatomy of Anthropomorphic Dynamics cap rate. Let's break down the numbers. NOI, $20,150,000 per year. Property value, $201,500,000. Their 10% cap rate meant that every year, the headquarters generated 10 cents of profit for every dollar of its value. For investors, that 10% was like earning a 10% return on their money, a strong incentive to back anthropomorphic dynamics in their dark schemes. How did anthropomorphic dynamics use cap rate? 1. To attract investors. Evelyn knew that most investors wanted predictable, strong returns. A 10% cap rate told them the headquarters was profitable and well managed. Investor pitch: ladies and gentlemen, every dollar you invest in anthropomorphic dynamics brings back 10 cents in pure profit annually. And with our growth strategies, those returns will only rise. 2. To benchmark success. Victor Astronoff, the CEO, compared their 10% cap rate with other properties in Madripoor, competitors. HQ, cap rate, 7%, lower returns, indicating a less profitable operation. Old Madripoor Docks, cap rate, 12%, higher returns, but risky due to unstable markets. Victor knew their 10% cap rate struck a perfect balance between high profits and low risk, cementing their HQ as Madripoor's most valuable asset. 3. To negotiate deals. When anthropomorphic dynamics acquired smaller tech startups, they used cap rate to evaluate the properties involved. For example, if a property had a cap rate below 5%, Evelyn dismissed it as too expensive for the income it generated. Properties with cap rates of 8 to 10% became prime targets, signaling good returns with manageable risk. Why investors obsess over cap rate? Cap rate simplifies complex decisions. Investors don't need to dig through pages of financial reports, they just need 1% to judge profitability. Here's why it matters. Quick comparison. Cap rate lets investors compare properties easily. For instance, an 8% cap rate on a rival property couldn't compete with anthropomorphic dynamics' strong 10%. Risk assessment. Investors use cap rate to weigh risk versus reward. A stable 10% return in a place like Anthropomorphic Road was seen as reliably a rare gem in the volatile Madripoor market. A villainous example, cap rate in action. One day, Victor Astronoff spotted a rival robotics company struggling to stay afloat. Their property, an aging factory, had a cap rate of 4%, much lower than the industry average. Victor saw an opportunity. The problem: a 4% cap rate meant the factory was overpriced for the income it generated. The solution: Evelyn swooped in, buying the factory at a steep discount. She then increased the NOI by upgrading its robotics lines and boosting efficiency. Within a year, the cap rate soared to 9%. What started as a failing factory became a cash-generating powerhouse for anthropomorphic dynamics. The bigger picture: why cap rate matters for everyone even outside the villainous halls of anthropomorphic dynamics. Cap rate is essential. For real estate investors, cap rate helps decide if a property is worth buying. A high cap rate might mean a great deal or a risky one. For property owners, monitoring cap rate shows how profitable a property is over time. Owners can make changes, like raising rents or cutting costs, to boost NOI and improve their cap rate. For financial institutions, banks use cap rate to decide if lending to a property owner is a good idea. A solid cap rate gives lenders confidence that the owner can repay loans. Conclusion: cap rate as a tool of domination for anthropomorphic dynamics. Cap rate was more than just a peer, it was a weapon. It showed investors the company's strength, guided smart decisions, and helped expand their empire across Madripoor. Victor Astronoff knew the truth: in the battle for corporate supremacy, percentages mattered just as much as power. With their 10% cap rate leading the way, anthropomorphic dynamics continued to tower over the competition, proving that in Madripoor, knowledge truly was power. Page 4. The KPI Chronicles, Debt Service Coverage Ratio, DSCR, a measure of financial stability in the shadowy streets of Madripoor. Anthropomorphic dynamics didn't just dominate with their humanoid enforcers and advanced robotics. They ruled with a mastery of financial strategy, ensuring their empire was as unshakable as their machines. One key metric behind their financial dominance? The Debt Service Coverage Ratio, DSCR. With a DSCR of 3.11, Anthropomorphic dynamics stood head and shoulders above their competitors, a fortress of economic strength in a city teeming with chaos. What is DSCR? DSCR is a number that tells lenders and investors if a company can comfortably pay off its loans. It's calculated using this formula: DSCR equals net operating income, NOI, divided by debt payments. A net operating income, NOI, this is the company's profit from its operations before taxes or loan payments. For anthropomorphic dynamics, their NOI was a hefty $20,150,000 per year. Debt payments, this includes all the money the company must pay yearly on loans, such as interest and principal. For anthropomorphic dynamics, the formula looked like this: DSCR equals $20,150,000 divided by $6,482,000 equals 3.11. This meant they were earning 3.11 times more than what they needed to cover their loan payments. In simpler terms, their income far outstripped their debts. Why does DSCR matter? DSCR is like a report card for a company's financial health when it comes to loans. It answers two big questions. Can this company afford its loans? A DSCR of 1.0 means the company is earning just enough to cover its payments. Anything above 1.0 shows a cushion of safety. How attractive is this company to lenders? Banks and investors love high DSCRs because they mean less risk. If a company's DSCR drops below 1.0, it might struggle to pay its loans, making it a risky bet. For Evelyn Kane, the CFO, the 3.11 DSCR was her ace card. It showed every neobanks, investors, and rivals so that Anthropomorphic Dynamics was practically untouchable. How did Anthropomorphic Dynamics use DSCR? 1. To secure loans on their terms when Anthropomorphic Dynamics needed funding for their next big project like the cutting-edge humanoid Sentinel MKVR. Evelyn approached Madripoor's biggest lenders. Evelyn's pitch, with a DSCR of 3.11, we're not just financially stable, we're thriving. Your loans are safer with us than with anyone else. Banks fell over themselves to offer the company loans, often at reduced interest rates, knowing that Anthropomorphic Dynamics could easily repay. 2. To showcase financial stability, rivals often tried to spread rumors about the company's finances, but Evelyn used the DSCR to shut them down. Rival CEO, their success is all smoke and mirrors. Evelyn, really? Then why do we have a DSCR of 3.11? We're earning triple what we owe. The numbers didn't lie. Investors continued to back the company, and competitors slinked away in silence. 3. To plan for the future, a high DSCR wasn't just a badge of honor, it gave Anthropomorphic Dynamics the freedom to expand. Viktor Astronov, the CEO, used the excess income to reinvest in their empire, research and development, advancing their humanoid robotics. Expansion, acquiring smaller tech companies and real estate. Reserves, building a cash cushion to weather any future storms. With their DSCR, Viktor ensured the company could stay one step ahead of anyone trying to challenge their dominance. A villainous example, DSCR in action. One stormy evening in Madripoor, Viktor Astronov learned that a rival robotics firm, Neural Nexus, was struggling financially. Their DSCR had dropped to 0.95, meaning they weren't making enough money to cover their loans. Evelyn saw an opportunity. Step 1, Evelyn approached Neural Nexus's biggest lender and offered to buy their loans at a discount. Step 2, with control of the loans, Anthropomorphic Dynamics forced Neural Nexus into bankruptcy. Step 3, Viktor swooped in and acquired their assets for pennies on the dollar. Evelyn later smirked, a DSCR below 1.0? That's practically an open invitation for takeover. DSCR by the numbers, why it's essential. Here's why DSCR matters to companies like Anthropomorphic Dynamics and beyond. The company's DSCR helps businesses stay on top of their debt. If the ratio dips too low, it's a red flag that trouble might be brewing. For lenders, banks and investors use DSCR to decide who gets loans. A high DSCR means less risk and more confidence. For expansion, a strong DSCR gives companies breathing room to grow. They can take on new projects without worrying about how to pay their debts. Lessons from Anthropomorphic Dynamics. Anthropomorphic Dynamics didn't just survive in Madripoor, they thrived. Their DSCR of 3.11 was a cornerstone of their success, ensuring they could outlast rivals, attract investors, and fund their villainous schemes. For Viktor and Evelyn, this number wasn't just a KPI, it was a weapon. It gave them the financial stability to dominate Madripoor's robotics market and crush anyone who dared stand in their way. As Evelyn often said, a high DSCR is the difference between ruling the city or being ruled by it. Page 5. The KPI Chronicles, Occupancy Rate. At the beating heart of efficiency in the heart of Madripoor, where ambition often collided with treachery, Anthropomorphic Dynamics wasn't just about cutting-edge humanoid robotics. Their iron grip on the city's tech market stemmed from ruthless efficiency, and nothing showcased that better than their occupancy rate. With a 100% occupancy rate, every inch of their sprawling 201,500 square foot headquarters at 3151 Anthropomorphic Road buzzed with activity. From top-secret research labs to assembly lines churning out humanoid enforcers, the facility was alive with purpose, a tangible symbol of Viktor Astronov's unrelenting pursuit of perfection. What is occupancy rate? At its core, occupancy rate measures how much of a property is actively in use. The formula is simple: occupancy rate equals rented or occupied space total available space, times 100. For example, if a building has 200,000 square feet and 180,000 square feet are rented or in use, the occupancy rate would be 180,000,200,000 times 100 equals 90%. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, their 100% occupancy rate meant every square foot of their 201,500 square foot property was being used efficiently, with no wasted space. Why does occupancy rate matter? Occupancy rate isn't just a number, it's a mirror of a property's success and efficiency. Here's why it matters: maximizing revenue. If you own or manage property, empty spaces are like money slipping through your fingers. A high occupancy rate ensures every part of the property generates income or serves a purpose. Indicator of demand: a fully occupied building shows there's strong demand for what the property offers. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, it proved their headquarters was a hub of innovation that no one else in Madripoor could rival. Operational efficiency: an occupied building feels alive. Every office, lab, and workspace adds to productivity, making the company more effective overall. Lender confidence: lenders and investors see a high occupancy rate as a sign of stability. It reassures them that the company isn't wasting resources and is likely to stay profitable. The significance for Anthropomorphic Dynamics: for Victor Astranov, CEO of Anthropomorphic Dynamics, the 100% occupancy rate wasn't just a statistic, it was proof of his company's dominance. Every corner of the headquarters buzzed with purpose. Top secret labs on the upper floors. Dr. Lisbeth Kane led her team of engineers and scientists. The labs were packed with humanoid prototypes undergoing rigorous testing. Every square inch was critical to refining the next generation of Sentinel units. Production floors on the lower levels, assembly lines ran 24/7, producing the city's most advanced enforcers. The production team took pride in their work, knowing that there was no wasted space or downtime. Corporate offices: the executive floors housed strategy meetings, financial operations, and even espionage against competitors. Evelyn Kane, the CFO, often boasted about how not a single desk in the building was left empty. How Anthropomorphic Dynamics leveraged their occupancy rate. 1. Strengthening investor confidence: Evelyn Kane presented the 100% occupancy rate in every investor briefing. "Not one square foot goes unused," she'd declare. This assured investors that every dollar they put into the company went toward productive, profitable work. It helped secure massive funding for expansions and projects. 2. Reducing wasted space: Victor implemented a no dead zones policy. Any part of the building not in use was quickly repurposed. Empty storage areas became additional robotics labs. Underutilized offices were converted into collaborative workspaces. This efficiency ensured that every part of the property contributed to the company's goals. 3. Creating a sense of purpose: the fully occupied building fostered a unique culture. Employees felt the energy of a constantly active workplace. For Victor, it was about sending a message: Anthropomorphic Dynamics wastes nothing, not space, not time, not opportunity. The downside of 100% occupancy: while a 100% occupancy rate sounds perfect, it can have challenges: lack of flexibility. With every space in use, there's no room to expand or adapt quickly. Victor knew this and had already purchased land nearby for future growth. Higher maintenance costs: fully occupied buildings require constant upkeep. But Evelyn ensured the company's operating expense ratio remained low by optimizing maintenance schedules. A villainous example: occupancy rate in action. One stormy night, Victor Astranov learned that rival, Quantum Robotics, had a headquarters only 75% occupied. Sensing weakness, Victor devised a plan: espionage. Using his enforcers, Victor uncovered that Quantum Robotics couldn't find tenants for their empty spaces. Economic pressure: Evelyn convinced suppliers to prioritize Anthropomorphic Dynamics, making it harder for Quantum to fill their gaps. Corporate takeover: when Quantum's occupancy rate dropped further, Victor swooped in and bought their building at a discount, turning it into a secondary research hub. Occupancy rate by the numbers. Let's recap Anthropomorphic Dynamics occupancy rate: 201,500 square feet of total space. 201,500 square feet actively in use. Occupancy rate: 201,500 divided by 201,500, times 100 equals 100%. This number signified complete efficiency, making their headquarters the envy of Madripoor. The takeaway for Anthropomorphic Dynamics: the occupancy rate wasn't just a measure of space, it was a symbol of their dominance. In a world where every inch counted, Victor Astranov ensured that none went to waste. His empire thrived, every corner of his headquarters pulsing with innovation, ambition, and menace. As Victor often said, a building that's fully alive reflects a company that's truly unstoppable. Page 6. The KPI Chronicles, Tenant Credit Quality. A trustworthiness in the shadows. In the neon-soaked alleys of Madripoor, where deals were forged in whispers and empires crumbled under unpaid debts, Anthropomorphic Dynamics stood tall. Among the countless metrics that kept their villainous empire afloat, one quietly yet powerfully upheld their foundation: tenant credit quality. With a pristine A-grade rating, Anthropomorphic Dynamics didn't just house cutting-edge robotics labs and research, they ensured that every occupant within their walls was trustworthy, reliable, and capable of meeting financial obligations. This KPI was their silent armor, shielding them from the chaos of a world where delinquent tenants could spell doom. What is tenant credit quality? Tenant credit quality measures how reliable a tenant is when it comes to paying rent. Just like a credit score determines if someone is likely to pay back a loan, tenant credit quality evaluates businesses or individuals renting a property. High credit quality, A rating, these tenants are like gold, consistent, trustworthy, and low risk. Low credit quality, D rating, these tenants are risky and might delay or fail to make payments. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, the A-grade rating reflected their tenants' financial stability, primarily their own subsidiaries and high-profile clients. Why does tenant credit quality matter? Having reliable tenants isn't just nice, it's essential for a property's success. Here's why: financial stability. High-quality tenants pay rent on time, ensuring a steady cash flow for the property owner. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, this meant they could always count on rent to fund operations. Lower risk of loss. Tenants with poor credit quality might fail to pay rent, leaving property owners with unpaid bills and empty spaces. An A-grade rating meant Anthropomorphic Dynamics didn't have to worry about such risks. Appealing to investors. Investors want stability. High credit quality proves the company isn't gambling on risky tenants. Evelyn Kane, the CFO, always highlighted their A rating to attract new backers. Easier loan approvals. Banks and lenders see high tenant credit quality as a sign of reliability. This helped Anthropomorphic Dynamics secure better loan terms for future expansions. How Anthropomorphic Dynamics maintained an A rating. Victor Astranov, CEO of Anthropomorphic Dynamics, treated tenant credit quality like a shield. Here's how they achieved and maintained their A-grade rating. 1. Vetting tenants. Every tenant was carefully chosen. Subsidiaries renting space in the headquarters had to demonstrate strong financial records. External tenants, like tech partners, were screened for stable income and good credit histories. "We don't let just anyone rent from us," Victor often said, his tone sharp. "If you can't pay, you don't stay." 2. Internal consistency. Since most of the building was occupied by Anthropomorphic Dynamics and its subsidiaries, Victor ensured that rent payments were logged and managed with precision. Departments were charged market rates, creating a paper trail that proved their financial discipline. 3. Strong legal agreements. Evelyn Kane drafted airtight lease agreements. Late payments incurred heavy penalties. Defaulting tenants faced immediate eviction. These measures ensured that the A rating stayed unblemished. The villainous advantage of tenant credit quality. The A-grade rating wasn't just a statistic, it was a weapon. Here's how Anthropomorphic Dynamics used it to dominate Madripoor's corporate landscape. 1. Attracting high-profile tenants. When tech startups and smaller robotics firms saw the A rating, they were eager to rent space in the headquarters. The prestige of sharing a building with Anthropomorphic Dynamics added to their appeal. 2. Securing loans for expansion. With banks recognizing their tenant stability, Anthropomorphic Dynamics easily secured low-interest loans. These funds fueled new projects like Project Sentinel, a fleet of humanoid enforcers set to patrol Madripoor. 3. Crushing competitors. When rival firms faltered under delinquent tenants, Victor swooped in. He offered to buy their properties at a fraction of their value, expanding his empire while maintaining his high credit standards. The tenant credit quality formula. While there's no universal formula, tenant credit quality often involves evaluating credit scores, a numerical score indicating financial reliability. Payment history. Records of past rent payments. Income stability, whether the tenant has a consistent income or revenue stream. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, the consistent rent payments from their subsidiaries, combined with strong lease agreements, ensured a spotless A-grade rating. Tenant credit quality in action. A Madripoor showdown. One day, Victor learned that a competitor, Neuromax Systems, had a B-grade tenant credit quality for their flagship property. Sensing an opportunity, Victor acted swiftly. Infiltration. Using a humanoid enforcer disguised as a tenant, Victor uncovered that Neuromax's poor ratings stemmed from delinquent tech startups renting their space. Undercutting, Evelyn offered these startups better rates at Anthropomorphic Dynamics' satellite property, luring them away. Acquisition. With Neuromax building half empty and losing money, Victor bought it for pennies on the dollar. Evelyn smirked at the deal. "Their poor tenant choices were their downfall," she said. By the numbers, tenant credit quality at 3151 Anthropomorphic Road, tenant rating, a percentage of reliable tenants, 100% average payment timeliness, within 5 days of the due date. These figures painted a clear picture. Anthropomorphic Dynamics was a fortress of financial reliability. The takeaway for Anthropomorphic Dynamics, tenant credit quality wasn't just about numbers, it was a statement. An A-grade rating proved they could be trusted to deliver, no matter the stakes. It made their headquarters not just a building but a beacon of stability in Madripoor's turbulent world. As Victor Astranov often said, an empire is only as strong as its foundation. And our foundation? Flawless. Page 7. The KPI Chronicles, Market Rent vs. In-place rent, a strategizing savings. The high-tech fortress of anthropomorphic dynamics, nestled in the heart of Madripoor at 3151 Anthropomorphic Road, wasn't just a marvel of engineering and AI brilliance. It was also a testament to financial cunning. Among their arsenal of KPIs, market rent versus in-place rent was a secret weapon Victor Astronov wielded masterfully. This metric wasn't just about rent, it was about strategy, savings, and reinvestment. What is market rent versus in-place rent? Let's break it down. Market rent. This is the average rent charged by similar properties in the area. For example, if other high-tech office spaces in Madripoor charge $38 per square foot, that's the market rent. In-place rent. This is the actual rent tenants are paying. At Anthropomorphic Dynamics, the in-place rent was $34.27 per square foot, much lower than the market average. Why is this important? Market rent shows how much they could charge, while in-place rent reveals how much they are charging. The difference tells a story about strategy and financial efficiency. Why market rent versus in-place rent matters? This KPI matters because it impacts cost savings by charging themselves below market rent. Anthropomorphic Dynamics saved $3.73 per square foot. Multiply that by their 201,500 square feet, and the savings hit $751,595 annually. That's money they could pump into Robotic's R&D or their security team of humanoid enforcers. Competitiveness. Lower in-place rent can attract tenants. If Anthropomorphic Dynamics opened part of their space to external businesses, charging below market rent would make them more appealing than competitors. Property valuation. Although charging below market rent might seem like a loss, it was a calculated move. Keeping cash flow steady and reinvesting in the company helped boost their overall valuation in the long run. Strategic flexibility. By maintaining lower in-place rent, they had room to adjust if the market changed. If Madripoor's economy boomed, they could raise rents closer to market levels and instantly increase profits. Victor's strategy. The power of underpayment. Victor Astronov didn't see the $3.73 difference as a loss, so it was an opportunity. He called it smart economics, and here's why. Reinvestment. Instead of funneling money into rent, Anthropomorphic Dynamics poured it into projects like NeuroHive, an AI designed to predict market trends. Why overpay ourselves for rent when you can invest in the future? Victor would say. Tax efficiency. Paying less in rent also meant paying fewer property-related taxes. Evelyn Kane, the CFO, calculated that this strategic underpayment shaved off $50,000 annually in tax obligations. Operational security. If the market took a downturn and rents dropped, Anthropomorphic Dynamics wouldn't feel the squeeze. They had built-in protection by already charging below market rates. Market rent versus in-place rent. In action scenario, the investor pitch. Evelyn stood before a group of Madripoor's most ruthless investors. Her presentation focused on their HQ's KPIs. With market rent at $38 and in-place rent at $34.27, some might ask, why not charge more? Evelyn began, her tone calculated. She tapped a button, revealing a hologram of their reinvestment strategy. By underpaying ourselves by $3.73 per square foot, we've saved over $750,000 annually. This savings funds our robotics labs, keeps us ahead of competitors, and ensures steady growth. The investors nodded in approval, impressed by the foresight. Scenario: the competitor's downfall. Meanwhile, Neuromax Systems, a rival firm, wasn't as clever. They charged themselves market rent for their HQ but failed to reinvest the extra income wisely. When a Neurobotics tax hit Madripoor, they struggled to pay rent and were forced to downsize. Victor capitalized on the opportunity, purchasing their smaller office building for pennies on the dollar. Overpaying for rent, Victor smirked. A rookie mistake. The math of market rent versus in-place rent. Here's how the numbers played out. Market rent, $38 per square foot. In-place rent, $34.27 per square foot. Difference, $3.73 per square foot. Savings calculation, $3.73 A tilde, 201,500 square feet equals $751,595 saved annually. These savings funded everything from AI advancements to humanoid enforcer upgrades. The takeaway: why this KPI is a game changer. Understanding market rent versus in-place rent allowed Anthropomorphic Dynamics to maximize savings. They used rent as a financial lever, creating more funds for innovation. Outsmart competitors by staying below market rent, they gained flexibility that rivals didn't have. Build long-term value. Lower and meant a more resilient financial structure, even during economic downturns. For Victor, this KPI wasn't just a number, it was a weapon in his arsenal of domination. Final words from Victor as he looked out over the skyline of Madripoor from his towering HQ. Victor chuckled to himself. Everyone's so obsessed with charging the highest rent, he mused. But the real power lies in charging what keeps you ahead. And with that, anthropomorphic dynamics continued to thrive, proving that sometimes, less rent can mean more success. Page 8. The KPI Chronicles, Mastering Effective Gross Income. In the sprawling corporate empire of anthropomorphic dynamics, numbers weren't just tools, so they were lifelines. One of the most critical KPIs in their arsenal was effective gross income. While others in Madripoor's cutthroat market faltered with mismanaged finances, anthropomorphic dynamics thrived, fueled by a sharp understanding of this key metric. This chapter of their story dives into how a deceptively simple yet powerful figure kept the gears of their villainous empire turning. What is effective gross income? In simple terms, IG is the total income a property makes, including all sources of revenue like rent, parking fees, or leasing special facilities, minus any money lost from vacant spaces. It's a two-part equation: potential gross income, PGI, the maximum money the property could make if it were fully rented. Vacancy losses, income lost because some spaces aren't rented out or tenants fail to pay. So, the formula looks like this: IG equals PGI, vacancy losses. For anthropomorphic dynamics, $25 million in IG with their 201,500 square feet headquarters, anthropomorphic dynamics boasted an IG of $25 million. This number reflected not just their efficiency but their dominance in the Madripoor market. Why IG matters: measuring financial health. IG shows how much money is actually flowing into a company. While gross potential income looks good on paper, IG reveals the reality of accounting for spaces that are empty or tenants that aren't paying. For Victor Astronov, this number was a crystal clear indicator of the building's profitability. Driving future growth with an IG of $25 million, Evelyn Kane, the CFO, had the funds to invest in expansions, upgrades, and even corporate takeovers. The high income allowed them to build new labs for humanoid research and fund cutting-edge AI experiments. Confidence for investors. A strong IG made anthropomorphic dynamics an attractive choice for backers. Investors saw the steady cash flow and knew they'd get returns on their stakes. Evelyn often included the IG in presentations, labeling it the heartbeat of their operations. Benchmarking against competitors. IG also allowed anthropomorphic dynamics to compare themselves with rivals. Their $25 million dwarfed the IG of Neuromax Systems, whose lower occupancy rate and outdated facilities left them struggling at $18 million. The empire of effective income. Victor's vision. Victor often strolled through the halls of their headquarters, pausing in the robotics testing lab or the AI development wing. To him, every square foot represented revenue or a tangible contribution to their $25 million IG. Every part of this building must work as hard as we do, Victor declared during a staff meeting. If it isn't generating income, it's dead weight. Evelyn's spreadsheets. Evelyn Kane, the mastermind behind their financial operations, was obsessed with keeping IG high. She tracked every square foot of the building, ensuring each area was either generating rent or contributing to the company's operations. Her secret weapon? Micro-efficiencies. Event rentals, hosting exclusive AI summits in their auditorium added an extra $500,000 annually to IG. Partnership deals, leasing part of the rooftop to a solar energy firm brought in another $250,000. These additional revenue streams meant their IG stayed strong, even when market conditions shifted. How IG saved the day scenario. The market slump in Madripoor, a sudden market downturn left many companies struggling. Vacancy rates skyrocketed as tenants left buildings half empty. But anthropomorphic dynamics, with its 100% occupancy rate and strong tenant relationships, kept its IG at $25 million. Rivals like Neuromax Systems weren't as lucky. With an IG drop to $12 million, they were forced to sell off assets. Victor saw the slump as an opportunity. With their robust IG, anthropomorphic dynamics swooped in and acquired two smaller tech firms, cementing their dominance. The math behind IG. Here's how anthropomorphic dynamics calculated their success. PGI, potential gross income, rent for 201,500 SF at $34.27/SF equals $6,903,405 per year. Add revenue from event rentals, partnerships, and other sources equals $25 million. PGI vacancy losses, 0% occupancy loss equals $0 lost revenue. PGI, vacancy losses equals $25 million. Lessons from IG for anthropomorphic dynamics. IG wasn't just a number, it was the backbone of their operations. Understanding and optimizing it allowed them to stay resilient in a volatile market. Fund innovation, ensuring their technology stayed ahead of competitors. Build investor confidence, attracting more capital for future projects. Final words from Evelyn. As Evelyn presented their quarterly financials to the board, she wrapped up with a signature line: IG isn't just income, it's security, strategy, and strength. And with $25 million, we've secured our place at the top. With every dollar accounted for, Anthropomorphic dynamics continued to thrive, proving that in Madripoor, mastering your metrics was the ultimate superpower. Page 9. The KPI Chronicles, Mastering Effective Gross Income. In the sprawling corporate empire of anthropomorphic dynamics, numbers weren't just tools, so they were lifelines. One of the most critical KPIs in their arsenal was effective gross income. While others in Madripoor's cutthroat market faltered with mismanaged finances, anthropomorphic dynamics thrived, fueled by a sharp understanding of this key metric. This chapter of their story dives into how a deceptively simple yet powerful figure kept the gears of their villainous empire turning. What is effective gross income? In simple terms, IG is the total income a property makes, including all sources of revenue like rent, parking fees, or leasing special facilities, minus any money lost from vacant spaces. It's a two-part equation: potential gross income, PGI, the maximum money the property could make if it were fully rented. Vacancy losses, income lost because some spaces aren't rented out or tenants fail to pay. So, the formula looks like this: IG equals PGI, vacancy losses. For anthropomorphic dynamics, $25 million in IG with their 201,500 square feet headquarters, anthropomorphic dynamics boasted an IG of $25 million. This number reflected not just their efficiency but their dominance in the Madripoor market. Why IG matters: measuring financial health. IG shows how much money is actually flowing into a company. While gross potential income looks good on paper, IG reveals the reality of accounting for spaces that are empty or tenants that aren't paying. For Victor Astronov, this number was a crystal clear indicator of the building's profitability. Driving future growth with an IG of $25 million, Evelyn Kane, the CFO, had the funds to invest in expansions, upgrades, and even corporate takeovers. The high income allowed them to build new labs for humanoid research and fund cutting-edge AI experiments. Confidence for investors. A strong IG made anthropomorphic dynamics an attractive choice for backers. Investors saw the steady cash flow and knew they'd get returns on their stakes. Evelyn often included the IG in presentations, labeling it the heartbeat of their operations. Benchmarking against competitors. IG also allowed anthropomorphic dynamics to compare themselves with rivals. Their $25 million dwarfed the IG of Neuromax Systems, whose lower occupancy rate and outdated facilities left them struggling at $18 million. The empire of effective income. Victor's vision. Victor often strolled through the halls of their headquarters, pausing in the robotics testing lab or the AI development wing. To him, every square foot represented revenue, a tangible contribution to their $25 million IG. Every part of this building must work as hard as we do, Victor declared during a staff meeting. If it isn't generating income, it's dead weight. Evelyn's spreadsheets. Evelyn Kane, the mastermind behind their financial operations, was obsessed with keeping IG high. She tracked every square foot of the building, ensuring each area was either generating rent or contributing to the company's operations. Her secret weapon? Micro-efficiencies. Event rentals, hosting exclusive AI summits in their auditorium added an extra $500,000 annually to IG. Partnership deals, leasing part of the rooftop to a solar energy firm brought in another $250,000. These additional revenue streams meant their IG stayed strong, even when market conditions shifted. How IG saved the day. Scenario: the market slump in Madripoor. A sudden market downturn left many companies struggling. Vacancy rates skyrocketed as tenants left buildings half empty. But anthropomorphic dynamics, with its 100% occupancy rate and strong tenant relationships, kept its IG at $25 million. Rivals like Neuromax Systems weren't as lucky. With an IG drop to $12 million, they were forced to sell off assets. Victor saw the slump as an opportunity. With their robust IG, anthropomorphic dynamics swooped in and acquired two smaller tech firms, cementing their dominance. The math behind IG. Here's how anthropomorphic dynamics calculated their success: PGI, potential gross income, rent for 201,500 SF at $34.27/SF equals $6,903,405 per year. Add revenue from event rentals, partnerships, and other sources equals $25 million. PGI vacancy losses, 0% occupancy loss equals $0 lost revenue. IG. PGI, vacancy losses equals $25 million. Lessons from IG for anthropomorphic dynamics. IG wasn't just a number, it was the backbone of their operations. Understanding and optimizing it allowed them to stay resilient in a volatile market. Fund innovation, ensuring their technology stayed ahead of competitors. Build investor confidence, attracting more capital for future projects. Final words from Evelyn. As Evelyn presented their quarterly financials to the board, she wrapped up with a signature line: IG isn't just income, it's security, strategy, and strength. And with $25 million, we've secured our place at the top. With every dollar accounted for, anthropomorphic dynamics continued to thrive, proving that in Madripoor, mastering your metrics was the ultimate superpower. Page 10. The KPI Chronicles, Unlocking the Power of Operating Expense Ratio, OR. In the bustling world of anthropomorphic dynamics, every number mattered, but few were as closely monitored as the operating expense ratio, OR. For CEO Victor Astranov and CFO Evelyn Kane, OR was the ultimate test of efficiency. It told the story of how well their empire managed its expenses compared to its income, a story they used to maintain their iron grip on Madripoor's robotics market. What is operating expense ratio, OR? In simple terms, OR is the percentage of income spent on running a property or business. It's calculated like this: OR equals operating expenses divided by effective gross income, e.g. I, times 100. Operating expenses include costs like utilities, maintenance, and salaries for staff running the property. IG is the total income the property makes after accounting for vacancies, explained earlier in their $25 million IG chapter. For anthropomorphic dynamics, a 35% OR at Anthropomorphic Dynamics headquarters, their OR was 35%. This meant that out of every dollar they earned, only 35 cents went to covering expenses. The rest of 65% was pure profit. Why OR matters: a measure of efficiency. OR shows how well a business controls its costs. A lower OR means a company is spending less of its income on day-to-day operations, leaving more for profit or reinvestment. For anthropomorphic dynamics, their 35% OR reflected tightly managed expenses, a source of pride for Evelyn Kane. Attracting investors: investors love efficiency. A low OR assured backers that their money was being used wisely. Evelyn made sure to highlight this during investor meetings: our 35% OR isn't just a number, it's a promise of profitability. Comparison with competitors: rival companies in Madripoor, like Neuromax Systems, struggled with higher OE, often around 50%. This meant Neuromax spent half their income on expenses, leaving less room for growth. How anthropomorphic dynamics mastered OR: Victor's vision, the efficiency revolution. Victor believed that every dollar saved on expenses was a dollar that could fund innovation. He led a company-wide initiative called Efficient Empire to drive down their OR. Here's how they did it: automation everywhere, robots maintained the property, cleaned offices, and even monitored security. This cut staffing costs by 40%. Energy savings: solar panels on the headquarters rooftop powered 60% of their energy needs, slashing utility bills. Bulk purchases: supplies like maintenance tools and lab materials were bought in bulk, saving 20% annually. Evelyn's expertise, expense tracking mastery: Evelyn's financial acumen ensured every expense was accounted for. Her approach, real-time monitoring: Evelyn introduced software that tracked expenses in real time, flagging overspending immediately. Negotiating contracts from janitorial services to internet providers, Evelyn negotiated better deals, often saving thousands per year. Quarterly reviews: every 3 months, Evelyn and her team analyzed the OR to spot trends and address potential inefficiencies. The math behind their success: anthropomorphic dynamics OR calculation: operating expenses, utilities, $3 million; maintenance, $1,500,000; salaries for property management, $4,250,000; total operating expenses, $8,750,000; effective gross income, IG, total, $25 million. OR formula: OR equals operating expenses divided by EGI, times 100. OR equals $8,750,000 divided by $25 million, times 100 equals 35%. The empire benefits from OR scenario: the maintenance crisis. One fateful day, a critical vac system in their robotics testing wing broke down. The repair bill, $500,000. Thanks to their low OR, the company absorbed the cost without hesitation. Evelyn adjusted the expense tracking software to account for the spike and reassured investors that their efficiency cushion remained intact. Meanwhile, Neuromax Systems, already struggling with a 50% OR, was forced to shut down one of its labs after a similar expense. Scenario: the investor pitch. Evelyn stood before a packed room of Madripoor's wealthiest investors. Our OR of 35%, she began, shows that anthropomorphic dynamics is not only profitable but efficient. Every dollar you invest goes further with us than with any competitor. The pitch worked. They secured $50 million in funding for their next project, the Mark V Enforcer, a humanoid robot capable of autonomous decision-making. Lessons in OR for anthropomorphic dynamics: OR wasn't just a CPI, it was a philosophy. By keeping their operating expenses low, they achieved financial resilience, able to handle unexpected costs without breaking stride. Profit maximization: retaining 65% of their income as profit for reinvestment. Investor confidence: demonstrating efficiency and stability to backers. Victor's declaration: as the sun set over Madripoor, Victor addressed his team: efficiency is our weapon, and OR is the gauge of our strength. At 35%, we're not just surviving, we're thriving. With each percentage point of savings, Anthropomorphic Dynamics moved closer to its ultimate goal, total dominance of Madripoor's robotics industry. Page 11. The KPI Chronicles, how market vacancy rate shaped Anthropomorphic Dynamics. In the sleek, neon-lit sprawl of Madripoor, the skyline was dominated by the gleaming tower of Anthropomorphic Dynamics. While their cutting-edge humanoid robots stole the headlines, the secret to their enduring success often came down to the numbers. Among these numbers, the market vacancy rate was a hidden gem, a quiet but powerful indicator of their strategic genius. What is market vacancy rate? Simply put, the market vacancy rate measures how many properties in a given area are sitting empty or unused. It's expressed as a percentage. Market vacancy rate equals vacant properties divide total properties times 100. For example, if a neighborhood has 100 buildings and 5 of them are empty, the vacancy rate is 5%. Lower vacancy rates mean fewer empty spaces, which usually indicates high demand for properties. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, Madripoor's 5% vacancy rate. The 5% market vacancy rate in Hightown, Madripoor, the upscale district where Anthropomorphic Dynamics had its headquarters, was a key factor in their success. A low rate like this meant that nearly every property in the area was occupied, signaling high demand. Why market vacancy rate matters? Demand drives value. A low vacancy rate shows that a location is desirable. With only 5% of Hightown's properties sitting empty, businesses were eager to be there. This kept property values and rents high. In a place like Hightown, Evelyn Kane, CFO, explained, space isn't just real estate. It's leverage. Competitive advantage. Anthropomorphic Dynamics used the vacancy rate as a benchmark to prove they had prime real estate. This strengthened their negotiating position with tenants and investors alike. Stability. A low vacancy rate ensures steady income. Even in tough economic times, businesses flock to areas with strong demand, meaning properties in such locations are rarely left idle. Victor's masterstroke, securing Hightown headquarters. Years earlier, when the vacancy rate in Hightown was climbing toward 10%, Victor Astronov made a bold move. He acquired the 3,151 Anthropomorphic Road property at a discount, predicting that demand would rebound. The gamble pays off as Madripoor's economy grew. Hightown's vacancy rate plummeted to 5%. Victor's foresight meant Anthropomorphic Dynamics now owned one of the most sought-after buildings in the city. How they leveraged the vacancy rate. Attracting talent. The low vacancy rate symbolized Hightown's prestige. For top engineers and scientists, working in the fully occupied, bustling district was a badge of honor. Evelyn used this to recruit the best minds in robotics. Evelyn's pitch: when you work at Anthropomorphic Dynamics, you're not just joining a company, you're claiming your place in Madripoor's most dynamic district. Securing investors. Investors loved stability, and the 5% vacancy rate offered just that. Evelyn included the metric in every presentation. Slide highlight: Hightown vacancy rate, 5%. Anthropomorphic Dynamics occupancy rate, 100%. Coincidence? We think not. Rental revenue maximization. The low vacancy rate meant businesses were willing to pay a premium to be in Hightown. Even though Anthropomorphic Dynamics owned their headquarters, they rented out unused wings to select partners, charging top dollar. The math of market vacancy rate. Let's break it down. Hightown total properties, 1,000. Vacant properties, 50. Market vacancy rate formula: market vacancy rate equals 50 divided by 1,000 times 100 equals 5%. The 5% vacancy rate meant businesses had limited options of making Hightown a landlord's dream. The stories behind the numbers. Scenario: the expansion crisis. When Anthropomorphic Dynamics needed to expand, Evelyn faced a dilemma. The low vacancy rate made finding additional space nearly impossible. Competitors like Neuromax Systems were already bidding for nearby properties. Victor's solution: Victor devised a clever strategy. He partnered with smaller Hightown businesses, offering them lucrative buyout deals in exchange for their properties. By leveraging Hightown's demand, he turned competitors into collaborators. Scenario: the investor ultimatum. At an investor meeting, Victor faced skepticism about the high cost of maintaining a headquarters in Hightown. One shareholder asked bluntly, why not relocate to a cheaper district? Victor's response was swift and sharp: Hightown isn't just a location. It's a statement. The 5% vacancy rate proves that every inch here is worth its weight in gold. If you want to lead, you don't abandon the crown jewel, you polish it. The room erupted in applause. Lessons from the vacancy rate for Anthropomorphic Dynamics. The 5% market vacancy rate was more than a statistic, it was a testament to their strategic genius. It allowed them to secure prime real estate. Hightown's low vacancy rate validated their choice of location. Attract top talent and investors. The prestige of a fully occupied district drew the best and brightest. Maximize profits. Demand-driven rents boosted revenue from leasing extra space. Evelyn's final take as she presented the quarterly report: Evelyn summed it up perfectly. In Hightown, a 5% vacancy rate doesn't just mean opportunity, it means victory. And we've turned every percentage point into power. With a low market vacancy rate as their foundation, Anthropomorphic Dynamics continued their unstoppable rise, proving that in Madripoor, even the smallest numbers could fuel the greatest empires. Page 12. The KPI Chronicles, the loan-to-value ratio and Evelyn's masterclass in strategy in the dazzling world of Madripoor, where the skyline was a constant battle of innovation and ambition. Anthropomorphic Dynamics stood tall not just because of its cutting-edge humanoids but because of the financial genius steering its course. Evelyn Kane, the company's sharp-minded CFO, often said, "Numbers don't just guide us, they shield us." One of her most powerful shields was the loan-to-value ratio, LTV, a metric that gave the company financial flexibility and bargaining power. What is the loan-to-value ratio, LTV? The loan-to-value ratio is a way to measure how much of a property's value is tied up in a loan. It's calculated as LTV equals loan amount property value times 100. For example, if you have a $6 million loan and the property is worth $10 million, the LTV is LTV equals 6 million divided by 10 million times 100 equals 60%. A lower LTV is ideal because it means you owe less relative to the property's worth. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, a 60% LTV. Anthropomorphic Dynamics maintained a 60% LTV for their Hightown headquarters. This meant that for every dollar their building's value, only 60 cents was tied to a loan. The remaining 40 cents represented equity, their own stake in the property. While loan-to-value ratio matters, lower risk for lenders, a low LTV is like a safety cushion for banks. If something goes wrong and the lender has to sell the property, there's a better chance of recovering the loan amount. Evelyn used this fact to secure favorable interest rates. Financial stability: the lower the LTV, the more financial wiggle room a company has. At 60%, Anthropomorphic Dynamics wasn't over-leveraged, giving them the ability to weather market fluctuations. Negotiating power: a low LTV demonstrates financial responsibility, making lenders more willing to extend additional credit if needed. Evelyn called this their race in the hole. The backstory: securing the loan. When Victor Astranov first envisioned Anthropomorphic Dynamics' Hightown headquarters, he knew it had to make a statement. The property, valued at $50 million, was an ambitious purchase. But Victor was undeterred. He tasked Evelyn with securing the financing. Evelyn's game plan: Evelyn negotiated a loan of $30 million, ensuring a 60% LTV. She knew this number would be crucial not just to get the deal done but to keep the company's finances healthy. "Always borrow smart," she told Victor. "The building may rise high, but we need to stay grounded." How Evelyn used the LTV to their advantage: securing better interest rates. When Evelyn approached lenders, she emphasized the low LTV. "At 60%, we're taking on the majority of the risk," she told them. "You're looking at one of the safest loans you'll ever issue." Her pitch worked. Anthropomorphic Dynamics secured an interest rate 2% lower than the market average, saving millions over the life of the loan. Building investor confidence: at investor meetings, Evelyn showcased their 60% LTV as a testament to the company's financial health. Slide highlight: our 60% LTV isn't just a number, it's a promise of stability. Investors were impressed, knowing that a lower LTV meant the company had significant equity in their headquarters, reducing risk. Preparing for future growth: with a manageable loan, Anthropomorphic Dynamics had room to take on additional financing for future projects. This was critical as the company expanded into new ventures like humanoid workforce robots. The math of LTV: let's break it down step by step. Loan amount, $30 million. Property value, $50 million. LTV calculation: LTV equals 30 million divided by 50 million, times 100 equals 60%. This 60% LTV gave Anthropomorphic Dynamics the perfect balance of leveraging debt for growth while minimizing financial risk. The stories behind the numbers scenario: the unexpected investor question at a high-profile investor summit. Evelyn faced a tough question: why not aim for an 80% LTV to free up more cash for expansion? Evelyn's answer was calm and calculated: higher leverage comes with higher risk. At 60%, we ensure stability without compromising growth. It's not about how much we can borrow, it's about how much we should borrow. Her response earned nods of approval. Scenario: the expansion opportunity. 2 years later, a prime property in Hightown became available. Competitors scrambled to secure financing, but their high LTVs slowed them down. Thanks to their manageable debt, Anthropomorphic Dynamics quickly secured a second loan with favorable terms, outpacing the competition. Evelyn's foresight had given them a decisive advantage. Lessons from the LTV balance is key: a 60% LTV strikes a balance between leveraging debt for growth and maintaining financial stability. Risk reduction: lower LTV reduces risk for lenders, making it easier to negotiate favorable terms. Future flexibility: With manageable debt, companies can seize new opportunities without overextending themselves. Victor's final word as Evelyn presented the quarterly financials. Victor couldn't help but smile. "We've built a company as strong as this building," he said. "And with Evelyn at the helm, every number proves it." Anthropomorphic Dynamics' 60% LTV wasn't just a metric, it was a cornerstone of their success, a number that stood for strategy, stability, and unstoppable growth in the heart of Madripoor. Page 13. The KPI Chronicles, the internal rate of return and the road to unstoppable momentum in the neon-lit, futuristic streets of Madripoor, where every business vied for dominance. Anthropomorphic Dynamics didn't just stand out to its sword. With cutting-edge humanoid tech and savvy financial management, the company was a beacon of innovation. At the heart of their financial strategy was a metric that Evelyn Kane, the CFO, referred to as their long-term compass, the internal rate of return, IRR. What is the internal rate of return, IRR? The internal rate of return, IRR, is a percentage that shows how profitable an investment is over time. It's like a crystal ball for investors, projecting how much their money will grow if it's reinvested in a project or property. Here's how it works. Imagine you invest $1,000 into a project today. If the project has a 12% IRR, it means your $1,000 will effectively grow at 12% each year, compounded, over the project's lifespan. The IRR doesn't focus on how much cash you make at any single moment, it's about the big picture, how well an investment performs overall. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, a 12% IRR. Anthropomorphic Dynamics' 12% IRR meant their projects were not only profitable but growing at a healthy, steady pace. Every dollar invested in their cutting-edge humanoid research facilities or production lines promised long-term returns. Why internal rate of return matters. Attracting investors. Investors crave certainty and growth. A 12% IRR showed that Anthropomorphic Dynamics wasn't just another tech company burning cash. Instead, it was a reliable, profitable business that promised steady gains. Long-term decision-making. IRR helps evaluate whether a project is worth the investment. Evelyn used the IRR to greenlight new research labs, ensuring every dollar spent yielded maximum growth over time. Comparing opportunities. Not every project has the same potential. Evelyn used the IRR to compare options. Should they invest in a new lab or upgrade their humanoid testing center? The higher the IRR, the better the choice. The backstory. Calculating the future. When Victor Astronoff envisioned Anthropomorphic Dynamics, he knew success wouldn't just be measured by how many humanoids they sold, it would be about how wisely they invested in the future. Evelyn took this vision to heart, diving into every number, every metric, until she could predict their trajectory with pinpoint accuracy. Evelyn's analysis to calculate the IRR for their Hightown headquarters and humanoid production lines. Evelyn plugged in the initial investment, $150 million spent on the building and facilities. The annual cash flow, the income generated each year, which grew steadily as their humanoid operations expanded. The time horizon, 10 years for the period they planned to evaluate returns. After crunching the numbers, Evelyn arrived at the magic figure, 12% IRR. This meant their investments were growing profitably, attracting attention from some of the most prominent investors in Madripoor. Breaking down IRR for a 10th grader. Imagine you start with $100 and invested in a small business. By the end of year 1, your $100 has grown to $112. By the end of year 2, it's now $125.44. This steady growth rate is like your IRR. In Anthropomorphic Dynamics' case, it was 12%. Every year, their investments grew at that pace, ensuring the company's value kept climbing. How Evelyn used IRR to build investor confidence. At a high-stakes investor summit, Evelyn stood before a packed auditorium. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "Anthropomorphic Dynamics isn't just about innovation, it's about sustainable, profitable growth. Our 12% IRR is proof of that." To make her point, Evelyn unveiled a graph that compared their IRR to other companies in Madripoor. Competitor A, 8% IRR. Competitor B, 9.5% IRR. Anthropomorphic Dynamics, 12% IRR. The audience was captivated. A higher IRR meant Anthropomorphic Dynamics wasn't just surviving, it was thriving, outpacing the competition. The stories behind the numbers. Scenario: the investor doubts. One skeptical investor challenged Evelyn, "What happens if the economy slows? Won't your IRR drop?" Evelyn smiled, prepared for the question. "Our 12% IRR accounts for risks. We've diversified our revenue streams from humanoid sales to leasing research space. Even in a slowdown, we've positioned ourselves for steady growth." The investor nodded, impressed. Scenario: the expansion pitch. When Victor proposed expanding into humanoid service robots for hospitals, Evelyn analyzed the potential IRR. The project promised an IRR of 15%, higher than their average of 12%. She presented her findings to the board, emphasizing, "This isn't just a good investment, it's a phenomenal one." The board unanimously approved the expansion. Lessons from the IRR Big Picture Focus. The IRR looks at overall profitability, helping companies focus on long-term growth rather than short-term gains. Investment Evaluation. It's a tool for comparing opportunities and choosing the ones that promise the best returns. Investor Magnet. A high IRR attracts funding by showing that a company knows how to grow money wisely. Victor's vision and Evelyn's execution. As the meeting ended, Victor leaned over to Evelyn. "You've turned our numbers into a story investors can't ignore." Evelyn replied with a grin. "Because our numbers are the story. Every percentage point of that IRR represents our momentum, and we're just getting started." In the world of anthropomorphic dynamics, the 12% IRR wasn't just a number, it was a promise of growth, stability, and a future that no competitor could touch. Page 14. The KPI Chronicles, Net Present Value and the Weight of Tomorrow's Dollars. In the heart of Madripoor, where technology and ambition collided, anthropomorphic dynamics was not just innovating the future, it was also quantifying its value. Evelyn Kane, the CFO with a razor-sharp focus on numbers, had a secret weapon that helped her make some of the company's boldest decisions: net present value, NPV. What is net present value, NPV? Net present value, NPV, is like a financial time machine. It takes all the money a project will earn in the future and calculates how much that's worth in today's dollars. Why does this matter? Because money today is worth more than money tomorrow, thanks to inflation and opportunity cost, what you could do with the money now instead of waiting. For example, you'd rather have $100 today than $100 a year from now. But what if someone offered you $110 a year from now? That might change your decision, depending on how much you value money today. The NPV formula factors in future cash flows, the money a project will earn each year. Discount rate, how much future money is discounted to reflect its lower value today. Initial investment, how much you're spending up front. Anthropomorphic Dynamics $7,500,000 NPV. Evelyn calculated that their latest investments, like expanding their humanoid development facilities, had an NPV of $7,500,000. This meant that after accounting for all future cash flows and subtracting their initial costs, the project was expected to generate $7.5 million in today's dollars. Why NPV matters. Tells you if a project is worth it. A positive NPV means a project is profitable after accounting for the time value of money. Anthropomorphic Dynamics $7.5 million NPV was a green light for growth. Compares opportunities. Evelyn used NPV to decide between projects. One expansion plan had a $5 million NPV, but the humanoid facility project had $7.50 million, making it the clear winner. Quantifies risk and reward. NPV helps balance bold ambitions with calculated risks. A higher NPV means a safer bet. Victor's vision meets Evelyn's calculations. Victor Astronov, the visionary CEO, had grand ideas. One day, he burst into the office with plans for a robotic repair hub, a sprawling center that would double their revenue streams. The price tag? $50 million. It's revolutionary. Victor exclaimed. We'll dominate the market. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. Let's see if the numbers agree. The calculation. Evelyn started by estimating the repair hub's cash flow. Year 1, $5 million. Year 2, $8 million. Year 3, $10 million. And so on. Using a discount rate of 8%, she ran the numbers. The present value of the future cash flows came out to $55 million. Subtracting the $50 million investment left them with an NPV of $5 million. Victor's project was profitable but didn't pack the same punch as the humanoid expansion. Evelyn presented the numbers to the board. Scenario: humanoid expansion versus repair hub. We have two choices, Evelyn explained. Option 1, the humanoid expansion has an NPV of $7.5 million. Option 2, the repair hub has an NPV of $5 million. Victor's charisma was undeniable, but Evelyn's data-driven approach won the day. The board chose the humanoid expansion, and Evelyn assured Victor they'd revisit the repair hub idea when finances allowed. Breaking down NPV for a 10th grader. Imagine you're deciding whether to start a lawn mowing business. You'll spend $100 on equipment today and earn $50 each summer for 3 years. Is it worth it? Step 1, calculate the future cash flows. Year 1, $50. Year 2, $50. Year 3, $50. Step 2, discount future earnings. Year 1, $46.30, using an 8% discount rate. Year 2, $42.90. Year 3, $39.70. Step 3, add them up. Total present value equals $128.90. Step 4, subtract the initial investment, $128.90 minus $100 equals $28.90 NPV. Your lawn mowing business has a positive NPV, so it's worth starting. Evelyn's investor pitch at the next Madripoor Tech Summit. Evelyn showcased the humanoid expansion's $7.5 million NPV. She explained how the number reflected their future growth. Net present value isn't just a number, Evelyn declared. It's a testament to our strategy, ensuring that every dollar we invest today generates real value tomorrow. The audience was riveted. Investors lined up, eager to back a company that used data as effectively as anthropomorphic dynamics. Lessons from NPV focus on the future. NPV quantifies the value of tomorrow's cash flows in today's dollars, helping businesses plan wisely. Guide to smart decisions. Positive NPV? Green light. Negative NPV? Pump the brakes. Investor confidence. A solid NPV shows that projects aren't just exciting, they're profitable. Victor's gratitude. After the summit, Victor approached Evelyn. You turned my ideas into reality while keeping us grounded. Evelyn smirked. That's the power of NPV. It's the voice of reason behind ambition. Together, they toasted to a future as valuable as the numbers promised, with anthropomorphic dynamics leading the way. Page 15. The KPI Chronicles, cash-on-cash return are the power of liquid success. The bustling headquarters of anthropomorphic dynamics was more than just a hub for cutting-edge humanoid development. It was a testament to financial discipline, guided by sharp mind like Evelyn Kane, the CFO who turned numbers into strategy. Of all the financial tools in her arsenal, one stood out for its ability to keep the company agile and thriving: cash-on-cash return, COC return. What is cash-on-cash return? Cash-on-cash return, COC return, is a way to measure how much profit a company makes on the actual cash it invests. Imagine you buy a lemonade stand for $1,000 and earn $100 in cash profits after a year. Your COC return would be, cash-on-cash return equals, annual cash earnings divided by initial cash investment, times 100. In this example, COC return equals, 100 divided by 1,000, times 100 equals 10%. This percentage tells you how hard your money is working for you. A higher COC return means you're getting more bang for your buck. Anthropomorphic Dynamics 10% COC return. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, their 10% cash-on-cash return meant that for every dollar they invested in cash, they earned 10 cents in profit each year. This might sound small, but when your investments total in the millions, those profits add up fast. For instance, if they invested $10 million in a project, a 10% return meant they earned $1 million in profits annually. Why cash-on-cash return matters? Focus on actual cash flow. Unlike some metrics that deal with theoretical numbers, COC return is all about real cash profits. Evelyn liked to call it the truth teller. Liquidity for growth. Liquidity means having cash on hand to reinvest, pay for unexpected expenses, or seize new opportunities. A solid COC return ensures there's always money flowing in. Quick decision-making. By comparing returns on different investments, Evelyn and her team could decide where to focus their resources. Victor's expansion dream. Victor Astronov, the CEO, had a habit of dreaming big. One day, he proposed expanding into AI-powered medical robotics, an ambitious project requiring a $20 million cash investment. Evelyn, we've mastered humanoids. Now let's revolutionize healthcare. Evelyn's first step? Calculating the project's potential cash-on-cash return. The calculation. Victor predicted the medical robotics division would generate $2.5 million in annual profits. Using the COC formula, COC return equals, annual cash earnings divided by initial cash investment, times 100. COC return equals, 2.5M divided by 20M, times 100 equals 12.5%. The debate. Evelyn compared this with their current projects, which averaged a 10% COC return. The 12.5% return on medical robotics was higher, making it a promising investment. However, she warned Victor, a higher return is tempting, but we'll need to ensure cash flow from existing projects remains stable while we launch this. Breaking down COC return for a 10th grader. Imagine you run a dog walking business. You invest $1,000 to buy leashes, flyers, and treats. After 1 year, you earn $200 in cash profits. Using the formula, COC return equals, 200 divided by 1,000, times 100 equals 20%. This means for every dollar you invested, you earn 20 cents back in profit. Why COC return helped Anthropomorphic Dynamics? When Evelyn presented their 10% COC return to the board, it was clear this metric was more than just a number. It was a strategic anchor. Investments were paying off. Evelyn showed that even their riskiest projects were bringing in strong returns. Liquidity was protected. The steady cash flow meant they could reinvest in tech and cover operational expenses without running into financial trouble. Investors loved it. During quarterly meetings, Evelyn used COC return to prove the company's profitability. As she explained, this isn't just about growth. It's about sustainable growth. Victor's response. Armed with Evelyn's analysis, Victor presented the medical robotics project to investors. He emphasized the 12.5% COG return and explained how it aligned with their long-term goals. This isn't just a project, it's the next frontier of innovation. And it's profitable from day one. The investors were sold, approving the project with enthusiasm. The legacy of COG return for anthropomorphic dynamics, cash-on-cash return, wasn't just a financial metric, it was a guiding principle. It ensured every dollar worked hard, supporting bold innovations while keeping the company financially secure. Evelyn summed it up best: in a world of ambitious ideas, COG return is how we keep our feet on the ground while reaching for the stars. Victor laughed. And it's why we'll always have cash to chase the next big dream. Together, they toasted to their 10% COG return, a metric that ensured anthropomorphic dynamics would remain unstoppable. Page 16. The KPI Chronicles, Power Broker Score are the influence game in the glimmering skyline of Madripoor. Few properties carried as much weight as Anthropomorphic Dynamics headquarters in Hightown. While the company prided itself on cutting-edge innovation and financial efficiency, one metric spoke to their reputation and the market clout: the Power Broker Score. With a solid 4-star rating, this wasn't just a number, it was a badge of honor in a city where influence could mean everything. What is a Power Broker Score? At its core, the Power Broker Score is a subjective rating that measures a property's market influence and prestige. Picture it as a Yelp rating for buildings, but instead of customer reviews, it's based on factors like location. Is the property in a prime area? Tenants, are high-profile or reputable tenants occupying the space? Facilities, does it offer modern, attractive amenities? Reputation, is the property known as a market leader? The score ranges from 1 to 5 stars, with 5 being elite status. Anthropomorphic Dynamics 4-star rating. For Anthropomorphic Dynamics, their 4-star Power Broker Score meant they were influential but not untouchable. The building's reputation was built on a prime location in Hightown, the heart of Madripoor's tech scene. Top-tier tenants, including their own subsidiaries, which were leaders in humanoid AI. State-of-the-art facilities, from robotics labs to fully automated co-working spaces. But achieving and maintaining that score wasn't easy in a cutthroat market. Why Power Broker Score matters. Evelyn Kane, CFO, understood the importance of perception. Numbers tell the truth, she often said, but reputation closes the deals. Here's why the Power Broker Score mattered: competitive edge. A high score distinguished their property from competitors. With Madripoor's vacancy rate at 5%, tenants sought high-prestige locations, and their 4-star rating made them a top choice. Investor confidence. Investors cared about more than profits, so they wanted properties that were leaders in the market. The Power Broker Score signaled stability and influence, which kept investors lining up. Attracting talent. The score also reflected well on their corporate culture. Employees took pride in working at a headquarters that was as prestigious as their work. Victor's vision, chasing the 5th star. Victor Astronoff, the ever-ambitious CEO, wasn't content with just 4 stars. During a team meeting, he laid out a bold goal. We're leaders now. But a 5-star rating means market dominance. What will it take to get there? Evelyn, ever the realist, reminded him of the challenges. A 5th star means perfection, Victor. It's not just about prestige, it's about proving that we're untouchable. We need to enhance both our facilities and our influence. How to improve a Power Broker Score? The team brainstormed strategies, host high-profile events. Evelyn proposed transforming their top floor into an innovation hub. By hosting tech conferences and robotics expos, they could increase their visibility and attract industry leaders. Upgrade amenities. Their facilities were impressive, but Victor suggested adding a green rooftop garden and smart office systems. These upgrades would appeal to eco-conscious tenants and reinforce their cutting-edge image. Leverage media. Head of PR, Serena, emphasized the need for publicity. If we want that 5th star, the world needs to know we're redefining real estate innovation. Breaking down the Power Broker Score for a 10th grader. Think of the Power Broker Score as your school's popularity ranking for hangout spots. A 1-star spot might be the dark corner of the library where no one goes. A 5-star spot? The trendy cafe tilde copyright across the street, where everyone wants to be seen. Just like people pick hangout spots based on reputation, businesses and investors pick buildings with high Power Broker Scores because it reflects prestige and opportunity. From 4 stars to stardom, Victor wasted no time putting their plan into motion. Within weeks, the Innovation Hub hosted a groundbreaking robotics conference, drawing global media attention. The green rooftop garden became a symbol of sustainability, earning praise from local environmental groups. A media campaign showcased their building as Madripoor's crown jewel, solidifying their influence. The payoff: 6 months later, the latest Power Broker Scores were released. Anthropomorphic Dynamics had done it hard. They'd earned their 5th star. Victor couldn't contain his excitement. "We're not just a building. We're an icon." Evelyn, as always, was the voice of reason. "This isn't just about bragging rights. A 5-star rating means higher demand, better tenants, and increased property value. It's the ultimate return on investment." The power of influence. The 5-star rating wasn't just a number, it was a symbol of dominance in Madripoor's volatile market. It gave Anthropomorphic Dynamics the leverage to negotiate better deals, attract the best talent, and secure most prestigious tenants. As Victor stood on the rooftop, overlooking the glittering city, he turned to Evelyn and said, "A 5-star building for a 5-star vision. This is just the beginning." And for Anthropomorphic Dynamics, it truly was. Page 17. Conclusion. KPIs as tools of power are the mastery of metrics. As the towering humanoid robotics factory hummed with activity under the sleek metallic skin of Anthropomorphic Dynamics headquarters, the company was no longer just a tech giant, it was a well-oiled machine. For Victor Astronoff and Evelyn Kane, the metrics were more than just numbers on a spreadsheet. They were the secret weapons of their empire, the tools of dominance that kept them firmly in control of Madripoor's volatile real estate market and beyond. Each key performance indicator, KPI, they tracked was like a compass guiding their strategy. It wasn't just about efficiency or profits, so they were playing a much bigger game, a game where every metric was a stepping stone toward more power, more influence, and more wealth. Every move they made was calculated, every decision backed by hard data, and every metric worked like a cog in their larger strategy to secure resources, outmaneuver competition, and dominate their field. The new frontier, humanoid robotics factories as turnkey investment. As the city of Madripoor looked on, whispers began to spread about the next phase in Anthropomorphic Dynamics' grand vision. The company wasn't content with simply owning property and innovating robotics, so they had their sights set on a revolutionary leap into the world of investment. This time, the focus was on scaling their humanoid robotics technology, not just for the company's own needs but for others too. They were about to launch a series of private equity fund focused on turnkey humanoid robotics factories. The idea was simple: build fully automated, high-tech humanoid robotics factories and offer them as turnkey solutions to investors. These factories would be self-sustaining, powered by their own robotics, and located in opportunity zones, which would allow for massive tax breaks and other financial incentives. By offering the factories as turnkey investments, they could scale their operations quickly while tapping into the growing demand for humanoid robotics. So whether it was for manufacturing, healthcare, or AI-powered automation,